Trump has a new target for his National Guard crackdown, Memphis, Tennessee. In an appearance yesterday on Fox and Friends, Trump suggested both Memphis Mayor Paul Young and a Democrat and Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, a Republican, are on board with this decision. Memphis Mayor Paul Young appeared last night on the weeknight, where he had this to say about Trump's announcement of a military presence in his city.
Do you want the National Guard in your city?
No, we definitely want a partnership with the federal government on providing the resources that we need. We have seen significant reduction in crime over the last 2 years, and we want to keep that trend going.
After weeks of speculation, Mayor Paul Young has confirmed he was briefed that Governor Bill Lee and President Donald Trump are considering deploying the National Guard to Memphis. In a statement, the mayor said he is committed to making sure any efforts strengthen our community and build on our progress, adding that what the city needs most are financial resources for intervention, more patrol officers, and case support to help police investigations. When asked, Governor Lee said in a statement, "Everything is possible and nothing is off the table." One Memphian told us the decision to bring in the National Guard is long overdue.
The youngins, they getting outrageous and ridiculous. Yo, we need them bad. They need to hurry up and call.
Local politician Worth Morgan says the Guard could provide relief for understaffed law enforcement.
We have a manpower shortage in various spots across law enforcement in Shelby County. If we can get some temporary relief, I say bring it on.
But State Rep Justin Pearson condemns the National Guard coming to Memphis and says, "I strongly oppose the deployment of the National Guard to Memphis. While I share a deep concern for those in our city who are harmed by gun violence and other crimes, the use of military force in our streets is not the solution."
All right, guys, so we got to continue our coverage of President Trump's crime/illegal immigration crackdown that is coming to a liberal city near you. Now, President Trump has basically pulled off a pump fake on Democrats in the mainstream liberal media because there was a lot of speculation about the National Guard coming to Chicago. Okay, President Trump sending the National Guard to Chicago. He did launch an ICE operation in Chicago, but didn't send a National Guard. Now, the whole time there was speculation that the National Guard could be deployed to Chicago to fight crime. Democrats are boo-hoo-whining crime, right? Showing their hand, showing how radical they really are on this issue of crime, which is that they believe in being soft on crime. They kept saying, well, Chicago doesn't have a crime problem, right? Meanwhile, over Labor Day, you have dozens of people shot, okay? You have multiple mass shootings, epidemic of mass shootings happening in Chicago as Democrats are kicking and screaming and crying, saying, no, our city is completely and totally safe, right? We don't need more help from the government. We don't want to work with the government, right? Again, Democrats just revealing how radical they really are on these issues. So the Trump administration, again, they've decided to pull a pump fake on Democrats, right, to expose their hand, and then decided to move to exactly where the mainstream liberal media kept begging President Trump to go with his crime crackdown, which is to red states. But again, here's the catch, right? Here's the catch. It is blue cities and red states that are now the targets of the crime crackdown because of the fact that red state governors will allow the president to deploy the National Guard in their states, right? So the liberal media is getting exactly what they asked for. And you can guess they're now boo-hoo-whining crime foul about President Trump doing this because the big city that he is targeting, the liberal city that he's targeting in a red state is Memphis, Tennessee, which just so happens to be the most dangerous city in America.
I think maybe I'll be the first to say it right now again. We're going to Memphis. Memphis is
that's the next city.
Deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy. And the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did Washington. I would have preferred going to Chicago. I had a man in the head of a big railroad. They're doing a merger, and he wanted to come see me and all that stuff. And I asked him, because, you know, it's one of the largest train companies, maybe the largest, so you can figure out who it is, okay, Union Pacific. And he was in my office, and he started off 45 years ago with the railroad. It's such a great story. Sir, I'm a railroader. That's the kind of guy that should ride it, you know, as opposed to a Wall Street guy that destroys the railroad, but he's good financially, right? And he was a very impressive guy. And I said, so what do you think? Where should we go next as a city? Because we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do a few at a time. but we're going to straighten out the crime in these cities. He said, sir, Memphis would be good because he's on the board of FedEx. He said, when I walk 1 block to my hotel, they won't allow me to do it. They put me in an armored vehicle with bulletproof glass to take me 1 block. He said, it's so terrible. I said, let me ask you a question. So we're going to Memphis. I'm just announcing that now, and we'll straighten that out.
National Guard?
The National Guard and anybody else we need. And by the way, we'll bring in the military, too, if we need it. But
Memphis is, without a doubt, the most dangerous city in America. It is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. For example, in 2023, 2024, Memphis was 30th in the world. Okay, so you talk about all the cities in the world, Memphis is in the top 50, okay, along with New Orleans and Detroit as well, too. Again, as the most dangerous cities in the world, when you talk about murders per capita, Memphis had 48 murders per 100,000 people back in 2023, 2024. And, yeah, this is why there needs to be a crime crackdown, right? There should be no reason why an American city should be a top 50 most dangerous city in the world. That just doesn't make sense. Not in what is supposed to be the greatest country on earth, right? So, yeah, President Trump is taking the crime crackdown where it is desperately needed in Memphis, Tennessee, which happens to be, again, a liberal city that has a large black population, right? I mean, it is basically a black city at this point. And, of course, the black liberals are now boohoo whining and crying about this. They're boohoo whining and crying about President Trump cracking down on crime in a black city, right? That is what Roland Martin is going to complain about, boohoo whine and cry about in this video that I want to react to, okay? Showing you what black liberals really care about, okay? They're not pro-black, they're pro-Democrat, because only somebody that's pro-Democrat would be against protecting black people in these liberal cities, okay? But this guy is mad, he's upset because the Democrat mayor, the black mayor of Memphis, Tennessee, is agreeing with President Trump and the governor on allowing the crackdown. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
Donald Trump is sending the National Guard to Memphis. The Tennessee governor, Governor Bill Lee, he's certainly happy with it. Well, the mayor of Memphis, Paul Young, said he did not ask for it. It's not his choice, but the decision has been made, so therefore he'll work with them. I don't understand that decision. He doesn't have to work with them.
Again, listen to this guy. Listen to this clown. Listen to this clown. Again, these people call themselves pro-black, right? They're supposed to be looking out for black America. But yeah, this dude with a straight face is saying, well, I don't know why the mayor of the most dangerous city in America, why would he work with the governor and the president to crack down on crime? Why would you do that? The question is, why would he not do that? That's the actual real question. Do you care about saving lives or not? Or do you care more about the Democrats, right? And pushing whatever narrative that Democrats want out there, doing whatever Democrats agree with. Do you care more about that, or do you care more about saving lives? Clearly, Roland Martin cares much more about the Democrat agenda than he cares about black lives.
It's not like he doesn't have the same issues that Muriel Bowser has in Washington, D.C., where the feds can have control over Washington, D.C. Joining us right now is State Representative Justin Pearson. Glad to have you back on the show. In a second, we're going to play some of the mayor's news conference today. But this is clear. Donald Trump, red state governor, is he not going to oppose this? He got opposition from Governor Pritzker of Illinois, Democrat. Opposition from Gavin Newsom in California, Democrat. So now he's found his perfect foil, a red state governor who says, sure, come on in.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is what y'all wanted. This is what you asked for. You kept saying, red states, that's where all the crime is at. Now, again, keep in mind, the only reason they're saying that is because blue cities in red states, again, are driving the crime. But again, they pretend as if this is a Republican problem, right? So again, President Trump just said, okay, bet, cool. This is what you asked for. We will go to red states, but we're going to be in blue cities, right? And then a boohoo whine and cried about that. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, what we are seeing is, well, again, another significant abuse of power by this administration against a black community. The majority of
Here we go, an abuse of power. Now, again, the president apparently has decided that, you know what, I'm not going to overstep these Democrat governors, right? I'm going to work with people who want to work with me, right? The governor of Tennessee says, yes, I want to work with you, Mr. President. The mayor of Memphis is saying, I don't want to work with you, but I kind of got to work with you because it would look really bad for me not to crack down on crime, right? Like, I'm actually trying to protect my citizens. That would be a good idea, right? It would look really bad for me to reject the National Guard, right, as mayor, considering how, again, this is the most dangerous city in America we're talking about here. And then you got this clown, wannabe Martin Luther Negro, on Roland Martin's show talking about this is the president abusing power, right? When all of the key figures, the decision makers in this decision, they're all on board with this. Right? Like, nobody's been forced to get on board with it, right? They're all on board with it because ultimately it's the right thing to do.
And people who live in Memphis and Shelby County are Black African-American folk. And the fact that he's targeted Los Angeles, the fact that he's targeted Washington, D.C., threatened to target Chicago is no coincidence. This is all a part of a ploy as it relates to authoritarianism and him being a dictator wannabe and enshrining white supremacy and its abuse of power in our communities. And so we have to speak up at minimum and resist what is happening, because this is only the start. We know this is not how it ends. Midterm elections are coming up. Presidential elections are coming up. So what happens when he deploys the National Guard into our communities during those times? And as you said, this is a state that's run by Republicans. This is run by Republicans, and yet they aren't investing in the things that we need for them to. They're attacking and threatening our communities.
So, okay, and we're going to play a little bit in a second. So when the mayor says, I have no choice, okay, I don't understand that. Here's what I'm looking at. All right, so federal government, so Governor Lee, if y'all want to send in these troops and you want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, how about y'all simply cut a check for Memphis to be able to expand crime prevention efforts, and not just when it comes to police, but also when it comes to the other issues, economic issues that impact lowering crime, which is what Brandon Scott did in Maryland, which is what Brandon Johnson has done in Chicago.
Yeah, the reason why, again, they're not just going to cut a check is because of what you just said. Is because they're going to take the money and start wasting it on these woke programs, these woke projects that's not going to do a damn thing to lower crime. And then they turn around and they rig the statistics and then tell you, oh, see, look, our woke programs are lowering crime, right? Meanwhile, you have people literally begging for the National Guard. Literally like, no, it is not safe. But again, these people are telling you otherwise. No, it's totally safe. No, we don't need the National Guard. Like, again, all these people want a check from the federal government, but they don't want to use the check to actually do what they're supposed to do with the money, right? They want to blow the money and then turn around and ask the government for more money, okay, because they didn't use the original money to do what they're supposed to do. There should be no federal money being given to these cities as a check, right, to fight crime, because they're going to take it and they're going to spend it on woke projects. No. What needs to happen is that there needs to be a direct oversight of the funds being used, and to make sure whatever funds are used, they're used to hire police, right? And hopefully having a National Guard there, which again is what they did in D.C., is that opens up local police to go and to spend more resources and time in neighborhoods that are the most dangerous. They're now freed up to actually go and do more police work, to do more things in the communities that need it, because of the fact that the National Guard is providing a police presence in parts of the city that aren't as crime-ridden, right? Now, again, Memphis, probably the whole place is a disaster, right? So, again, I'm fascinated to see how the crackdown is going to work, but this is a template, right? I think this is a template for what could possibly be done in the future, right? Moving forward. When it comes to these blue cities and these red states, because again, this is what Democrats and the liberal media told us to focus on, right? You need to focus on crime in red states. All right, cool. We're going to do that just in these liberal cities, and they're still complaining. They're still upset. But again, you have black liberals here essentially begging the federal government not to help save black lives, right? That is what they're doing, okay? This is what they're doing. These are people supposed to be, again, pro-black.
Cannot have a conversation about crime in this country without talking about poverty. There is no way that you need to have a military occupation when you don't even have policies for policy intervention, prevention, and alleviation. And in this state, there has been an intentional effort not to do anything about eradicating poverty, and yet we give billions in tax cuts to corporations. Donald Trump, Bill Lee, Cameron Sexton, Rand McNally, none of these people care about Memphis or the people who live here. They don't care about ending crime. They don't care about any of those things. They're using this as a part of their political talking points as well as political power building for building an authoritarian regime and destroying our democracy. But if they actually wanted to help, they would give tens of billions of dollars to Memphis and Shelby County to eradicate poverty, to fix housing, to ensure kids are getting adequately educated. But they aren't trying to deal with the root causes of the very issue that they're talking about. Why? Because Bill Lee's been in office 8 years. He hasn't tried to do anything about poverty. He hasn't tried to do anything substantially about crime. Why? Because the National Rifle Association, the Tennessee Firearms Association, is in these folks' back pocket. And so they know that they're not going to put forward any laws to actually end the gun violence epidemic, actually prevent guns from being in the hands of people who otherwise should not have them.
Yeah, again, this is not how the real world works, right? And that's the unfortunate reality for these socialists, right? These leftists, is that they think like children, right? And they really do believe that all they need to do is just pour billions of dollars in the black neighborhood, in the black community, and the crime will go away, right? And it's just so naive, right? That doesn't work. That never works. It hasn't worked. It won't work. Okay, what needs to happen before you invest anything is to crack down on crime. Okay, to get the criminals off the street. Okay, if you try to pour a bunch of money into these neighborhoods with crime, we've seen the outcome over and over and over again. What happens? What happens is that the criminals essentially rob the businesses out of existence. That's what happens. Okay. And then they turn around and they boohoo whine and cry about a food desert, right? When the food desert exists because of the fact that businesses can't operate in crime-ridden neighborhoods, right? So you can't build a business. You can't build on top of a crime-ridden community. You can't do that. You cannot operate and engage in commerce when you have crime everywhere. You can't do it. It doesn't happen, okay? You have to clean up the criminals first, and then the opportunities will come. But again, these people, again, they're ass backwards. I don't understand who votes for individuals like this, to be honest with you. People like this, in my opinion, are not qualified for office. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't done anything about crime. He hasn't done anything about poverty. Yes, it is time for a major crime crackdown in these liberal cities that have become way too dangerous. And that's just where we're at, right? And if it has to start with the red states and the blue cities in red states, if Republicans can actually get these cities under control, make these cities safe, okay, make these cities a place where people actually want to visit, hey, that's good for red states. It's good for these cities, and it's good for Republicans as a whole, right? Especially at the national level. So this is a genius move from President Trump. He is doing exactly what the mainstream liberal media begged him to do. And, of course, again, they're boohoo-whining crying racism over him doing exactly what they asked him to do, right? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.